Charlie, Justice, how you doing?
Good, sir. How are you? How are you enjoying retirement?
Is that what this is? No, actually, I'm loving it, but I'm really enjoying these conversations, and this is not a debate format. This is a conversation that we're having with all of the candidates. You are running in County Commission District number 3. Charlie, how long have you been on the commission?
Finishing my second term.
That would be 8 years?
Yes, sir.
Right. So if I were to ask you, what do you think has been the biggest highlight? Let's just say your last term of a reason that people would want to reelect you to County Commission District number 3.
Well, I think there's a couple things. Overall, I think that it's my approach that of the commission that we have now is we build consensus and we move forward. We don't get bogged down in the partisan battles that really kind of dragged the commission for years ago. And it's a level of respect that we have for our community partners, whether the mayors of our 24 cities, our 18 fire providers, our 19 water providers, thousands of nonprofits. We respect our partners to get things done. That's a kind of a global thing. But personally, individually, I am really, really proud of how we've moved the needle in the poverty area, especially in Lellman. Creating a community center there for the very first time ever, creating a community redevelopment area in Lellman, never been done in unincorporated Pinellas County, and designating staff to respond to folks in unincorporated area concerns. So that's really, really proud of the work that we're doing in Lellman, and we're not done yet there, and that's why I want to keep working.
Is one of the biggest challenges you face with the commission is that you want to keep everything equal so everybody is treated equally. And yet in reality, some areas that have more financial wherewithal and some of the areas where the occupants may have higher incomes, that is a tough balancing act. I would think that's the most challenging thing that you commissioners have to do.
Well, we have certain responsibilities for all 915,000 plus people that live here. And we have certain responsibilities for the about 300,000 that live in unincorporated. So that kind of sets that designation a little bit. And yeah, each community is very different in what they want and what they expect and what they demand from the county government. And so it's being respectful of those unique characteristics and not trying to have a one size fits all. What folks want in Tierra Verde is not the same as what they want in Eastlake. And so, yeah, we try and balance out the needs. And some years one area gets a little bit more just because that's the nature of budgeting. But I think it's really important. Our administrator this year, we have 3 employees that their focus is responding to those unincorporated areas. That's never been done before in Pinellas County, and it helps us stay in touch with those unincorporated areas that sometimes get left behind, because you hear from the mayors and you hear from the city councils, but it's really important that we respond to everybody as well.
Yeah, I live in one of those unincorporated areas, and I'm on the phone with Karen a lot about the roads, but that's neither here nor there. So let's get something straightened out. We just talked to Janet Long, and we were talking about this 4-3 vote, which is it doesn't happen very often in the commission. You were one of the 3 people that voted against that measure that would allow the county administrator basically to make a decision about when the emergency declaration would be over, per se. People wouldn't have to wear masks. What was your objection to that proposal, and did I frame it correctly?
Yeah, I think you're right. The charter and the state law gives the administrator certain authorities and powers, especially during times of emergency. We use it in Pinellas County more for during hurricane season than this type of event, obviously. The reason that you typically do it is if the commission can't get back together. If you're in the if we're in the cone of a tropical storm or hurricane, you don't necessarily want 7 commissioners trying to all get to that one courthouse. But we meet by Zoom right now under the governor's orders. And so, and we're meeting weekly anyway in October. We talked about this back in July when there was kind of a natural break on our schedule. But in October, we have a commission meeting and a work session scheduled for every week. And I just didn't think, since we're going to meet anyway, I thought it was appropriate that we have that conversation every week. I didn't have any objection to that. So that's why I thought we should just stay the course with how we're doing it now. And it's not anything against the administrator. I think he would make sound judgment. I just thought as the elected official, we should make those decisions.
Okay, let's get into some of the questions that some of the members of the chamber have asked, and I'll read this just the way this reads. It says, do you support the proposed changes to the coastal high hazard area rules, put that in your mind, to allow applications for density increases contingent upon more resilient building requirements and increased payment into the Hurricane Shelter Fund?
Yeah, I haven't studied that intensely, but I think that if you balance it out, there's some logic there. We've got to figure ways to get some redevelopment in areas. We've got to figure a way to increase some of the density in areas, but that only makes sense if you have the building construction codes that make sense. We've seen areas around the state where a hurricane comes through and one house is knocked down and the house right next to it is perfectly standing because of the construction standards that they used back from the Hurricane Andrew standards that were used in new construction in the Panhandle after Ivan came. So
Mhm.
that's the important part of it. Um, Everybody wants to live in Pinellas, and a lot of people want to live in St. Petersburg right now. And so we're trying to figure a way to balance all those things. Um, but we don't want to put it in areas where we're going to have issues with transportation, issues with evacuation, um, or bad inventory of housing. So that's all things have to be balanced out. I know the city is going to be discussing it, and then the county will bite out the apple after that.
So my good friend Adam Smith, who I used to do a political program, Political Connections with for years, I was looking at one of his blogs and he was really concerned and wanted people to kind of raise the ire of the commission by saying, why aren't we preserving more areas and why are we allowing development in areas that we know darn well are going to get flooded? I'm just thinking of that piece of property up in Dunedin that the city is trying to buy, again, in one of the last pieces of undeveloped property up in North County, and the problems they're having because they're up against a developer who wants to develop it. So when can the commission say, no, we've got enough folks and we're not going to build in these sensitive areas anymore? Charlie, are you there? Did I lose you? Did I lose something here? Charlie, did you get that?
I heard the beginning of your question about I assume you're talking about the Hackworth property
Yes,
in Dunedin.
yes. And other properties. In other words, can the commission do more to preserve more areas that are natural instead of always building things and slamming them in there and then trying to make it up with it with a little bitty nature trail that goes around the outside?
No, we absolutely can do more, and we're in negotiations on that property. I don't think that's a done deal yet. Um, but I would point out that the county, the government, the commission, we don't slam properties and development into properties. People own properties, and if it's zoned a certain way, they want to take advantage of that. That Florida has a strong history of private property rights. I will say that we haven't got maybe credit enough for some of the things that we have done. We bought an abandoned golf course in Seminole, the Bay Point property, to provide green space and water retention drainage there. We added 125 acres in Palm Harbor to the Wall Springs Park. It was an 86-acre park. We added 125 acres to that park there. So we're doing some things. Granted, there's always going to be the property that wants, and the Hackworth property has a lot of value to it environmentally. And I think that I'm hopeful. It's not over yet. I'm still hopeful on that property.
So Hillsborough County, the citizens got together and said, this transportation thing is ridiculous. Our streets are ridiculous. We got to get something done. They voted overwhelmingly to tax themselves. Now, the whole issue is still if I'm right, is still in the courts, and they haven't decided, well, was that completely constitutional to do that? And shouldn't the county commission have some kind of authority? So looking at that, do you think it would be possible in Pinellas County that if the residents rose up and said, we will go ahead and tax ourselves a half-cent more to improve our roadways? Would you be in favor for something like that?
I think if the citizens rose up and created a referendum and it passed, you have to support that. The county commission and with our administrator and with the director of Forward Pinellas, the planning organization, and with the director of the Pinellas Suncoast Transit Authority, we were in conversations this spring about a long-term transportation plan, and that included giving the voters an option on a referendum for a tax increase. It would have been a voter approval, but we had a long-term plan. We were in the works of kind of working that language out as far as what the money would go to. It'd go to improving roads, improving transit, and improving the intelligent transit system, which times the lights so that you don't get stuck at every light on Ulmerton Road, those kind of things. And so we were just in the process of listing out projects, and we've been working with our 24 city partners to do that. And that's when COVID hit, and really between the thought of a tax increase on a ballot and the staff time that it would take to completely develop the language and the programming, there just wasn't enough, as they say, enough bandwidth to handle all of that, plus what was going on with COVID. And so we kind of pushed it down the road a little bit. But it is a discussion that we're going to have. The road fund, the gas tax that pays for our typical road projects, has an expiration date. At some point, the PSTA budget will have problems. As gas tax is not collected, people are getting more fuel efficient cars. If they get electric cars, the gas tax goes down. So all of those things are going to be a conversation in the next couple of years that we really have to have a serious one about.
You know, another thing that I talked with Janet about, and one of the things that I've watched the commission and the school board, you know, you give residents 3 minutes to get up there and say something. And I'm not trying to be unkind, and I'm a journalist, so I am very much for free speech. The problem is, the reality is, you get the same group of people, and then half the time, and I'm not knocking this, but half the time they bring nothing new to the table. You're not sure what their complaint really is, and they lack an understanding of the process. So, not banning that, but how do you make public input more meaningful to the commission, where people can say, oh yeah, they are listening to what I'm saying?
Well, we've talked on the commission, and each chairman has done it a little bit different about putting the, and there's the part about commenting on an actual agenda item, which is guaranteed under Florida law. And then there's the citizens to be heard at the beginning, which is kind of whatever you want to tell us. And before COVID, we had about 4 people that would come on a regular basis, and the topics really weren't germane to the county commission. But every once in a while, we would get someone who'd come in, and you could see that they were brand new. They were looking at the commission and looking at being on the TV and coming to the commission chambers, and they actually had something that the commission actually did deal with, and we could actually get into a neighborhood problem or a specific issue, constituent type issue that they were dealing with. So when I was chairman, and how I've always felt is that it was worth putting up with a couple of maybe our frequent flyers that get up and insult us. It was worth putting up with that in order to get to the real constituents that might have real concerns that we can deal with. And that's, to me, hearing from constituents and listening to the public is a big part of the job.
Well, you know, as they say, democracy can be messy, but show me any other system that works as well around the world. And, you know, free speech is free speech, and boy, we better always protect that, or that's when we're going to get into trouble. Charlie, always good talking to you. Good luck as you run for County Commission District 3, and you'll be running against Tammy Vasquez, who we'll be talking to in just a couple of minutes. Take care, my man.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.